So, what do we do with emotions? What do we do with these feelings that we have as human beings? It's a funny question because the mind is almost always involved in emotions. Because really the only thing to do with emotions is to feel them. That's why they call them feelings, because they're supposed to be felt. So how do we feel a feeling or emotion? We feel it by bringing presence to it and letting it be felt. It's that simple. It's like, how do you feel a heat on your hand? Well, you feel it directly. It's right there. How do you feel a stomach ache? You feel it directly in your stomach. Right? How do you feel an emotion? By directly feeling it. Bringing attention and awareness to it as it arises. Right? But what we've done here as humans is, instead of, when emotions arise, feelings arise, instead of just resting and feeling them and letting them just be there, we somewhere along the way we learn to go into the head and start thinking, labeling the emotion, telling stories about the emotions or feelings. Now our attention is up here in the mind. We're in mind. And most of us live here, really, as a way to protect ourselves from having to actually feel everything. So this is why there's so much stuff going on in the world, crazy stuff, fighting, political fighting, racism, homophobia, just murder, violence, everything that you see on the news, everything is really happening because people are not embodied. They're not connecting with their emotions. They're not present to their feelings when they arise, present in feeling them. Instead, they're in their heads, right? So emotions are happening for all of us, all human beings. And yet what we do is we go into story. We're not even aware. We're not allowing those feelings to come through. Presence. Instead, the feeling will arise and the mind gets very active and it starts to think, to try to harness, control, contain, express the feeling, label it, tell a story about it. And then you're identified with your thoughts and your feelings, and now you believe that you're your thoughts and feelings. You believe that you are those things, and you're reacting from those thoughts and feelings. This is why everyone is in such turmoil. There's so many divisions on earth. Like, everything is a division. Everyone is emotionally invested in their position, whatever their position is. Right? Any position that you hold has an emotional component to it. There's energy behind the position. We love to be right. We hate to be wrong. There's emotion behind all that. We love to be good. We don't want to be bad. There's feeling or emotion behind all of that. There's emotion behind the bullying that we see in our world, or those who are victims of that, victims of the perpetrators. There's emotion behind all of that on both sides. We are thinking and feeling beings, for sure. We have the capacity to think and feel. But we've lost sight of who we are, of what we are. We are this presence that experiences these thoughts and feelings. We are not the thoughts and feelings. But we've gotten lost in those thoughts and feelings and sensations, right? We've gotten lost in the sense that our identity has become enmeshed with the thoughts and feelings. Enmeshed completely. How do we unenmesh ourselves? Rest and inquiry, right? I mean, if I could say to you right now, and you could hear this, it would be a direct path to freedom. If you could just hear this next statement and live this statement in your life completely, you would wake up. You would live in the present moment always. If you'd hear this directly, here it is. Whenever you feel anything, any emotion, bring awareness to it and allow it completely and fully and freely. Just completely allow it without any resistance. Whatever it is. Welcome it, love it, allow it. From presence, from awareness. Not think about it, decide what it's called, label it, understand it, speak it, express it. No, feel it. Be present to it. Feel it directly, without your mind involved, without the words and the pictures of the mind. If you can hear this, this is a very direct pointer. Because once you come down and feel everything directly, without the story there, without the identity there, without the thoughts there, in other words, everything you see, everything you feel in your body is like this. It's like a wave of energy coming up, hanging out for a bit as energy, and then slowly dissolving into nothingness or presence. Every emotion that you experience is like that. It's like a wave, hangs out for a while, and then disappears. Why do emotions hang around or reoccur so much? Because they get hooked into thinking. And that's what I'm talking about. That's why this pointer is such a direct pointer. Because once it gets hooked into thinking, the programming just goes and runs with emotion, right? So if there's fear coming up, the mind will just go and run with that. Worry, think about future, bad scenarios, scary scenarios. I'm worried, I'm anxious, That's coming from that energy. That energy's, there's identification with thought right there. See, the simpler way would just be rest and come directly, or actually turn your awareness directly towards and allow that fear without thoughts. That's very direct. Just let it be there. Open yourself to it. Feel it. It's a wave of energy, this fear, this anxiety, whatever it is. Allow it. Rest, feel it. As we say, dance with it. Without thought there. If you can do that, that would be so direct that once that energy of fear moves through and releases, because you're directly aware of it without thinking, then what it does is that allows the mind to go, okay, I don't have to worry about the future anymore. I don't have to think about that anymore, because the reason I was thinking about that is because this fear was here and I didn't know what to do with it. So it just, you see what I'm saying? More directly, is we can just be with the feeling as it arises directly, allowing it in the open space of the present moment. Without thought on it, it'll release, and it allows the mind to not have to go to all those places that it goes, right? Same with anger. Like, anger is something we either really repress and hold down because it's scary, or we just act on it, just react out of it. Some of us do. I'm angry. I'm gonna hurt you. I'm gonna attack you, right? We go into our head, we think about all the reasons that we're angry, and we justify our anger. We chew on it in the mind, right? Whatever we're doing with it up here, it's not really healthy. What we need to do is to allow that energy to come up. Like, when it comes up, to welcome it, to open to it. Let it be there just like the fear. Take the word off of it and let that energy flow freely, being present to it like a wave of energy coming through. Now, I'm telling you, this is a very direct pointer, is to be with emotion exactly as it is in the moment without any thoughts on it. Now, I know that not everybody can do that. I'm just pointing to this because I'm going to point you back to inquiry, right? Because inquiry helps. Inquiry and noticing thoughts helps in quieting the mind so that you can get into your feelings, you can be present to the feeling. But some of you will hear this and you don't even need inquiry. You'll be bringing your attention to your body throughout the day, and you're noticing when you feel something, and then when you do, you just come down and allow it from awareness. No story, no thoughts, no words, no pictures, just energy. Some of you will be able to do that. That's why I'm doing this video. So I'm talking to you all. For those of you who can't do that, where you find yourself going back into story or thinking, don't worry, we've got plenty of tools for that. I've been giving you those tools. Go back to the beginning of the KIO series. If you forgot, those tools, inquiry, reverse inquiry, tapping, all that is designed to help you let go of the thoughts that are connected to the feelings so that you can come down and feel the feeling directly. Those videos are for you. This video is for those of us in the world who can directly feel things as they arise without even going into inquiry. I call it the magic pill just as a joke, really. There is no magic pill. But it's a magic in the sense that it's very direct. It brings you to presence. When you're with your feelings, when they arise, and you rest with them and allow them directly, and you see each feeling just fall away and dissolve into presence, it wakes you up to now. Because the mind doesn't have to do anything then. It doesn't have to figure anything out or worry or stress or justify its anger or sadness or shame or anything. The emotional body is clear, or you can say the body is clear of that emotion. And so presence is much more accessible. We're just here, now. You see, the emotions come up. That's where we start going into past and future. Notice that. The past and future are connected to emotions. Right? Sadness is about the past, regret, resentment about the past, shame, normally about the past, anger, sometimes about the past, sometimes about what's happening in front of us, fear, anxiety, future, right? That emotion produces or comes with future thinking, right? So our emotional body is connected to our time-bound story of past and future. See that? This is why this particular way of being with emotion is a direct path, because the reason that we're up here in past and future so much is because we're not embodied. We're not embodied, we don't have awareness or presence in our bodies to the extent that we're feeling things directly, right? So if we're not feeling things directly as they arise in presence, the mind has to do all that thinking, past, future thinking, ruminating, worry, stress, whatever. Of course, the emotional system is more complex than that, because certain emotions like shame hides from us. Shame hides. Anger sometimes hides from us. Other emotions do too. There are sometimes inquiries that we have to do to sort of bring emotions up. And I hope to get to that. We've done a little bit of it in the previous videos. But for example, with shame, here's an emotion that we all experience. We don't usually talk about it much. And we tend to repress or hide it from ourselves, the actual feeling of it, because it's scary, you know. So for example, watch your behavior and how you act in relationship to others, and how you hide certain aspects of yourself or your behavior. That's shame-based. There's a feeling under that behavior, that shame feeling, right? How do you bring that out? Well, usually you have to get pretty effective at using some form of inquiry to bring up the feeling, something that brings it up, and then you have to learn how to then be with it directly as it comes up. The way that I dealt with it, shame, is by using these inquiries. I would just say things like, using the reverse inquiry, I would say, I'm not ashamed of anything. And my system would go, yes, you are. And it would first of all show me a bunch of things that I'm ashamed of in thoughts. Pictures and words that tell me, yeah, you should be ashamed of that. If people saw this, they would judge you. You can't let people know this. This is something you should hide. the thoughts would just go like this when I would use that inquiry. But as those thoughts would start to relax by just watching them, they would begin to quiet. Be like, oh, there's the feeling of shame. Now I can be with that directly. I brought it up by bringing the thoughts up. Now the feeling is there, just resting with it like energy. Take the word shame off. Feel, allow, rest with it. Energy happening directly in presence without story or thoughts, right? And then of course that energy would just slowly fall away, right? But I would keep doing that reverse inquiry, or reverse inquiries like that. Like, I remember working with shame very directly for a long time. Not a long time, but quite a while. Because I became really curious as to why shame was really running my life, but I couldn't access it very easily. I had to bring in inquiry questions. And so here's another one that I use with shame. Is, again, using reverse inquiry, I would say, I can be completely transparent to everyone, everywhere, all the time, or something like that. And then the mind would go, no, you can't. It would give me all the reasons, right? That's what reverse inquiry does. It brings up the ego. The ego goes, no, you can't do that. And it shows me deeper layers of the shame story. Words and pictures. Perfect. Now I can see those words and pictures. And I can rest with those, notice those, or tap. Remember, I've given you all those tools about how to be with thoughts from awareness, or unhook from them. But either through resting with them, or tapping, or tracking, focus shifting, whatever, those thoughts that I brought up with that inquiry would fall away. And as they did, I had direct access again to that feeling, the body, that I was hiding from myself by being up here in the story, the programming. Now the feeling was there. Rest, allow it again. I would do that repeatedly until the shame just washed out of me. Right? Same with anger. I did the same thing, because anger was another emotion. Everybody's different. You're going to have a different experience with these emotions than me, or perhaps similar, but everybody is different. Some people have direct access to anger. Some people can just be angry and express it. Like, I can never do that. Anger, for me, was a very scary emotion. So most of my life, we'll talk about those who, later maybe in videos, we'll talk about those who have ready access to anger, those who get angry very easily, and the work that they need to do to sort of wake up from that. But for those of us who tend to suppress or repress anger, that's a different challenge, because the feeling is not even arising, or we're not fully conscious of it, aware of it, and so we kind of tuck it down, pretend like it's not there, or it comes out in weird ways. For me, this is just my experience in this body-mind, Scott. Anger, from a very early age, felt very scary, and so I learned how to just pretend like it's not there, not engage in any conflict, remain a peacemaker, a people pleaser, never get angry. Even though the emotion was there, this is what the story was telling me. The programming in the mind was like, keep it down, don't get angry, don't show anger. Anger's bad. You're bad if you show anger. People who are angry are bad. All that. Complete dissociation, or disconnection from my own experience with that programming. So again, I had to use inquiry to bring that emotion up, right? Because it wasn't readily accessible. So I would say things like, reverse inquiry, I can express and feel anger freely. I would imagine looking at people in my life that upset me or whatever, people who would make me normally repress anger. I would look at those in my awareness. I would say, I can feel and express anger freely. And the mind would go, no, you can't. Here's why. It would show me everything. It would not just say no. It would say, no, they won't love you. They'll attack you. You'll die. You'll be annihilated. Whatever. You'll be ridiculed. Again, just witnessing all that from awareness. Using the tools that I've shown you as I would stand and be aware of those thoughts and let them be there. working with them skillfully, again, not getting re-identified with them, but now seeing them from awareness, allowing them, those thoughts would eventually come to rest. That programming would come to rest and disappear in my awareness that as it would, there would be the anger. It would be more accessible then, more and more accessible. Just resting with it, like an engine that's powerfully and forcefully bringing up this energy of anger, just allowing that to be there, and then resting with it in awareness, and then it would just eventually disappear. And I would keep bringing it up. That's what I would do, because I knew that the repression of anger wasn't healthy. So I'd keep bringing it up with inquiry, like imagining scenarios where I get angry and feel that anger coming up. I remember being in my car during this whole process, just yelling and screaming. I'd park my car and yell and scream to bring that anger up. I'd sometimes go into my room and put my head in a pillow and just scream and beat the pillow and beat the bed and I'm so fucking angry. So I could feel that, bring it up, and then come right down and feel it. From awareness, from presence. Allow that pure energy to be here. After I brought it up in thinking, let those thoughts fall away. Feel it. That was very helpful for me. It transformed the way I experienced everything and everybody, is by bringing these repressed emotions up and letting them be felt and letting them be released. Very, very, very helpful. If you experience any of that kind of repression, I encourage you to inquire in that way. And our facilitators can help you with that. We're all trained to help with that. You can find facilitators at killabee.com. You can work with me there if you want. There's so much to say about emotions, right? Because they're such a part of our life, everyday life. We're always constantly feeling something. But yet we're not really directly aware of the feeling and allowing it. We're usually in our head, right? Trying to work it out with other people. Like, I'm angry, so I'm going to try to fix you. I'm afraid, so I'm going to try to change you so I don't have to feel afraid anymore. Or I'm ashamed, so I'm going to try to hide from you. We're just going about it the wrong way. These feelings are arising and we're going up into our head and reacting outwardly towards other people or responding towards other people as a way to try to manage all that. It's not working. Because look at the suffering in the world. It's just not working. The invitation here is to come down and feel directly, no matter what's happening. Whenever you have a feeling come up, come down and feel it if you can. Inquiry helps, right? Helps you to let those thoughts go so you can come down into the body and feel directly. Many emotions are already there for us during the day if you'll just stop and feel. Come down directly and feel. Some emotions are repressed. They're stuffed down, so you have to use inquiry or something to bring them up. Actually access them first, and then let those thoughts relax, come down and feel. See that? Again, many of you don't have to do inquiry to come down and feel. You can just shift down, rest, and allow the feeling to be as it is without words and pictures on it. Others will have to do inquiry because you use inquiry either to bring the emotion up, the thoughts that come with it, like I said, with the repressed anger or the repressed shame or whatever it is. You'll have to do that. Sometimes it's not about repression. It's that when a feeling comes up, we're already so much in our minds labeling and telling stories about it that we're not directly aware of it. So you have to do inquiry to sort of let those thoughts that are there come to rest so that you can come down and feel it. See that? How we relate to feeling really tells us how to inquire into it, right? Again, because if I'm repressing anger, I've got to use inquiry to bring that repressed anger up. That inquiry that says, I can be angry, I can feel and express anger freely. That's to bring that anger up because it's repressed. But if anger is already up, it's not repressed in you, then the question is, can you come down and feel it directly when it comes up? It's not repressed, it's already there. Just come down and feel it, right? Hopefully without thoughts. That's what allows that energy to move through and disappear. So how you relate to emotion tells you how to inquire into it, or whether you need to inquire into it. If you're repressing, you have to bring it up. If it's not repressed, it's already there. Can you let the thoughts relax so you can be with it when it's there directly? One more thing about sadness, which I haven't talked about yet. There's so many different emotions. Sadness. I meet so many people who claim to be depressed, feeling a certain malaise about life or people or themselves. And I just want to say to them, look, have you ever actually felt sadness directly? I'm not talking about thinking about being a sad person or a depressed person. That's the programming in the mind. That's the labeling. That's not what I'm talking about. Have you come down and felt that sadness without those thoughts on it? Even without the thought sadness on there, when it comes up, feel it as pure energy and awareness. If you stay with it like that, and just let it be there, the quiet mind, when it comes up, it's like every other energy. It just arises, it's allowed in the space, and it dissipates and disappears into that space. See? But what normally people do, they don't do that. The sadness feeling comes up, and then there they go into the programming, thinking, I'm a person who's sad, and here's the reasons that I'm sad, the justifications for it. We build a story around it, the identity, right? And now we're not even feeling the sadness directly, we're in the story of sadness. You see, our relationship to emotions is everything. That's why it has to be discussed. When we talk about waking up or being free, we have to discuss the emotional body and how we relate to it. I hope this helps. Love you.